Well, hello there. So it goes without saying that I have, in my time, replaced an awful lot of Nintendo Switch Joycon parts. I've had these things apart so many times, I know them like the back of my hand. Now, one of the biggest problems you can get with these Joy-Cons in general is the analog stick. It's the most delicate part of the Switch, the second most being this button here. These analog sticks are notorious for stick drift. They dance around all over the place, and that's because dirt, hair, grease, dust, any number of things get in the actual components and cause just mayhem. Now, inside here is something called a potentiometer, and that's a circuit that's contact-based. So if you imagine a stick inside making contact with all different pathways as you're turning the analog stick, that's essentially what a potentiometer is. And when that gets dirty, the signal gets interrupted, and your video game character will suddenly start dancing the bolero on the screen and just going wherever they want to go, despite the stick being in the central position. Now, I will show you an example of stick drift. However, in this video, I'm going to step it up a notch with a new type of analog stick that I have been recommended by a friend. I have absolutely no idea if these are going to work. I only have his experience, which so far has been very positive. Now, these are called a Hall sensing joystick for Joy-Cons, and they're a different type of analog stick. They actually use magnetism instead of potentiometers. So when dirt and debris does get inside, there's nothing really between any contacts of any sort. It's all based on magnetism. So I thought I'd give them a shot. I'm going to replace my analog sticks with these components. They are pretty pricey. For example, as I do fix a lot of switches, I recently purchased standard analog sticks and I got 6 for £22 on eBay. You may be able to get them cheaper, but I get them from the same source every time. And I've never really had cause for complaint. The problem is usage. The more violent you are with an analog stick, the more chance it's going to break. And stick drift is a huge problem, as I've said previously. So I decided to spend £22 on just one pair, but I've got a feeling it's going to be worth it, because I don't think I'm going to be replacing these analog sticks anywhere near as often as I normally would. So I thought I'd make a video on it. I'll show you exactly what I do to replace these analog sticks. And I thought, well, why not just go for the upgrade? I've done enough of these to know exactly what I'm doing. You do need to take your controllers apart. It is very delicate work, and I recommend you have the right tools, the know-how, and the confidence to do a job like this. You don't want to be breaking your controller. You don't want to be causing any additional problems with the controller. So it's completely up to you if you choose to do this. This is for demonstration purposes only. I'm just going to show you how I do it. So sit back, have a cup of tea, and join me as I replace my analog sticks with hopefully decent ones. So, this is my Switch, as you saw previously. I do apologise for the bad lighting, it's not the greatest. However, my Switch is working perfectly fine. As you can see, I'm quite the avid Resident Evil fan. And we do have stick drift in this one. That much I know for sure. A good friend of ours has a son who has a Switch, and he had a severely bad stick drift. I didn't have any spare, so I decided to sacrifice my own decent stick and give that to him. And I had to put something back in this controller to obviously keep it working, although it is practically unplayable because of the stick drift. So I'm going to show you what I mean by stick drift and how to diagnose if you have stick drift. And that is, you go into your system settings. You may see the controller actually drift. It is very intermittent. We're going to go down to controllers and sensors, and then we're going to go down to calibrate control sticks. The stick you want to calibrate, move it. So I do. I just move it left. It then registers it. The stick is now drifting. I am off of the analog stick. I'm not touching it, and it's drifting. And eventually, hopefully, it will reach center again. It's trying. Place your bets. Place your bets. Is it going to return to center? Probably not at this point. However, if you move it down and then bounce it back, it will return to center. Obviously, with a lot of gameplay, a lot of movement, this will just get increasingly worse. I'll show you an example of what the other side does, and the other side is actually pretty decent. That's the way it should respond every single time. It should return to those crosshairs absolutely instantly. So let's get the replacement ones in there and let's see if there's any kind of improvement. So we're going to start by disconnecting, and we'll switch the switch off for now. I got this toolkit from eBay. It's an absolutely cracking toolkit, good screwdriver set, quite cheap on eBay. I'll put a link in the description. It's a great starter kit, perfect for what you need. So these are Nintendo, so obviously they've got the Y connectors there. You'll see it's a little Y head on there. I believe I've got the right bit. So we're going to get into the other controller first, the blue controller. I do also have, it seems really odd, a set of dental picks. Now, dental picks are really helpful, not only for scraping back plaque, but also for fixing controllers. So that's why I bought this set. It's a great little set, and it's good for all the delicate electronics within the controller itself. Just be careful because they are metal, and it can damage your electronics if you're not careful. First, we're going to take these 4 screws out. Okay, so with those 4 screws removed, this should come apart quite easily. Now, this has been apart before, so it might come apart a little easier than yours, for example. But what I tend to do is I just pry it underneath this black plastic here, very gently lifting, and it should open up like that. I'm going to flip this back over on itself now and reveal the controller. Now, your analog stick is underneath this battery, so we'll have to get this battery out. I'm going to use a little pry tool that comes with this kit to prise this battery off. Be very careful, just nice and gentle. It should pop up. There's only a little bit of adhesive there, and it should pop up out of the way. Now, I have been criticised before for doing this, but there is a reason why I do this. And I'm going to zoom in for you, because this battery connector here, this little black connector, if you start getting any kind of pry tool in there, it can damage it. As you can see, it sits in there very nicely. If you get a pry tool in there and start lifting, it's going to potentially damage it. So the best thing I've found to do, and be very confident with it, as you can see, it's already sits in there quite loosely. All I do is literally just pull up. That is literally all I do. As long as you are nice and quick with it, it shouldn't cause you any problems. But it will cause you problems if you start jabbing and poking things in there, in my opinion. So we're going to get this plate off next, and that is a screw down here. And we're going to keep the screws separate. And it's a screw here. You can see there's actually 4 screw holes there, but they're layered screws. So it's these 2 to begin with, and the other 2 are actually the analog stick ones. I'm going to take these 3 screws out, and then we're going to lift this entire section off. See how easily that comes away? And we're going to turn it upside down. Now, do be careful. This little blighter here will fly off and ruin everybody's day. And as you can see, the spring's already come off. So just be careful. Take that out very gently, and don't lose the spring. Now, this is an aftermarket analog stick. It has had its day. It has served its time. And now it is time to be replaced with an upgrade. So we're going to grab a dental pick. The battery is disconnected. Okay, the battery is already disconnected. It's not going to hurt the controller. Just be very careful when you're using these types of tools. You don't want to break anything. Okay, so I've got a little lifty thing on my dental pick here. It's not in focus properly, but you can see there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to very gently get underneath this tab here and just lift it up very gently. There's practically no movement there needed. Okay. You can grab a pair of tweezers, and I also have a set of tweezers as well. You can get these off of eBay, and again, I will put any links in the description for these tools. Very, very useful tools when dealing with these sorts of things. This connector here, if you see this screw is covered, get the pick underneath and lift it up. It's as easy as that. And we're going to get the tweezers. See these little tabs here? Let me zoom in for you, give you a bit of a better view. These tabs here, you just get the tweezers behind and literally just push it out, and look how easy that comes out. You pull this ribbon cable back, be very careful not to break it, and again with a Phillips you're just going to unscrew the 2 retaining screws for that analog stick. That's one. Again, I'll keep those separate. They're all the same screw. These gold ones are all the same screw, but I'll keep them all together. Look at that, it's loose. So I'm going to try and get this screw out with the magnet. There we go. So this analog stick is out. You just have to be very careful when removing it, because of the plastic. There's a little plastic sheath under here, so we want to try and get the analog stick out. So you're just going to maneuver it a little bit left and right, and try not to pull this black plastic out. As you can see, the analog stick came out quite easily. That analog stick is very loose, as you can tell. It's really loose. That's just nudging it. So I already know that analog stick is no good. So we're going to open these up. Let me zoom back out. I'm going to open these up and have a look, see what we're dealing with here. Let's see. I'm going to go for this one. I believe them to be both oriented identically. So I'm going to go for this one. That is a very, very nice looking analog stick. I'm liking that. I've found the best way. Get the ribbon cable seated first correctly. So I'm just going to push this in as far as it will go. I'm going to put this tab down by running the back of my pick across like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little tug test, not too much, a little tug test. That's not going anywhere. We need to lift this ribbon cable up and out the way. Make sure you don't trap it, because that could lead to disaster. And we're going to pop this analog stick through the hole like so. There we go. Now there is a little bit of a bump here in the analog stick. I'm not too fussed about that. There we go. Reseated. You don't do these up too tight. They just need to be nipped up, and that's it. You don't want to strip the plastic. So again, we're going to pull this little connector back, plonk the screw in, and send that analog stick home. Perfect. And we'll just double check that on the other side it's sitting nice. Oh, I can feel that already. Okay, so that is one side done, one controller done. Oh, that feels so much more comfortable. So on to controller 2. Controller 2 is a little different inside, and I will take you through that very shortly. Let's just get into it and get these analog sticks replaced. Same process, taking it apart, just pop it open down this bit of plastic and open it up. Now this side is a little different, okay? There is a little difference. You've got an antenna, which is here, so you have to be very careful of. But we're just going in here to replace the analog stick. We're not doing anything else. So we need to take the battery out. Same process as before. You just need to pry it up a little bit. A little bit of adhesive there, as you can see. And we'll do the same thing with the battery as we did in the other one. Be brave. There we go. We're going to just move this antenna to the side, okay? Making sure, of course, that it doesn't pop off. Even if it does, we can pop it back on with ease. Just make sure that's in there. So we're going to do the same thing with the analog sticks as we did in the previous. With the previous one, we're going to remove 3 screws. Now, obviously, I did say that this is slightly different on this side. That's because it is. It's got these 2 screws here. You've got one down here. Be very careful of this ribbon cable. Got one down here. And you've got one here. So they're not in the center like on the other one. But the same thing, we lift this red piece off and just be very careful, because this ribbon cable is a lot tighter to the controller. Okay, so you can see the analog stick there. That's the only bit that we're looking for. So I'm just going to move this out of the way a little bit, as much as I can. You have to be so careful because of this ribbon cable. You see this ribbon cable here? Just be very careful not to stress it too much. Whilst we're sort of holding this in place, we're going to take this analog stick out, just very gently. I'm not going to lift the tab or anything like that. I'm just going to remove the screws, and then I'm lifting up this black tab here. Just needs a little encouragement just to lift up like that. We're going to unhook the analog stick, get it out of there. Just make sure you don't tear this plastic cover. It's a little awkward, but it will come loose. It's a little awkward, but it does pop out. And then, because we've lifted this tab, we can simply just pull that out. Job done. That is the other analog stick out, and that one is a little bit better. It's not quite as loose. Doesn't sound rattly either. So it's definitely a better analog stick. You can actually use a bit of force to push that in. That's quite good. I like that. Nice and easy. So there, push the tab down, and little tug test. Push it down. Now you've got the antenna here. Now it does feed through here, so we're going to go through this gap here, around this corner here, and just push it very gently. Try not to break it. Push it very gently into that receding gap there. So down there and across there, and then the antenna just sits in there. And then we're going to close the controller back up, like so. Check it still works, which it does. And then we're going to put the outside screws back in, and then we'll go back to the testing part and we'll see if everything is working the way it should be. So that's the Joy-Con back together. And again, fresh analog sticks. Oh, they do feel good. Let's bring the Switch over and let's have a look. Let's check that it connects up to the Switch. It does. Let's check the controller lights up. It does. That's good. Let's try these analog sticks, shall we? Don't be afraid of this. You'll notice there that the analog stick is out of center, which seems really daft, but considering it's a new stick. But that is precisely why we need to go in and do a calibration. And to do that, all you're going to have to do is press the X button, and it will confirm a calibration. And then you just hit right when it says right and release when it says release. Then you go down, release, left, release, up, release, and then you rotate clockwise, calibration completed, and then it's literally reset to center, and that is now working beautifully. And it feels so good. That really does feel like good quality, a good quality analog stick. That. Okay, we'll have to calibrate this one as well, so we'll follow exactly the same process. It's not returning to center because it's not calibrated to center. So here we go. Let's calibrate it, shall we? So right, release, down, release, left, release, and up, release, and then a big circular motion. There you go, and return to center. That is the new center calibrated, and that is loads better. So this is the bit where we're going to test the analog sticks to make sure that they work. They feel very comfortable and very good. Let's just start this game because I've not saved it or anything. Okay, I'm just going to test this now. Oh, that does feel 100% better. That feels like factory, that does. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, that's so much better. So I'm going to test these analog sticks over the course of the next few weeks, and I will get back to you on what they're like, whether or not they're an improvement. I think that they are an improvement already, just by the way they feel. They seem to be relatively good quality ones. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. I'm hoping to grow this channel to be able to make more interesting videos, to move to console repairs and things like that. So please hit that like button, consider subscribing, and feel free to share the videos as well if you enjoyed it. Until next time, you look after yourselves, you look after one another. Thank you so much for watching. You take care. Bye bye for now.